Hello, everyone. It's Stephen Mueller from Mueller Entertainment, and I just wanted to record a little video here for everyone. Every so often I have folks write into me with questions at times. Sometimes it's they write me via one of my social media sites, or more often than not, it's via the company website, the Mueller Entertainment website, and generally, I enjoy hearing from everyone. I enjoy the questions a lot. It's just a lot of times I don't have time to answer each and every question individually, but I just figured I'd, make the time to try to answer a couple of questions. So I've got a couple of them here, and I've got one here by a gentleman named John Barnes from Omaha, Nebraska, and he wrote in recently, and his question is a good one. He says, Stephen, how did you first get involved with the entertainment industry? And secondly, he said, how did your career in the entertainment industry sort of progress? How did it begin, and how did it sort of continue on from there? And I think that's a good question, and I'd like to address that. I'd like to explain a little bit about that, but I'm not sure there's really a short answer. I'm sort of an old fart now, and in order to go back to the very beginning, you're talking about 25 years, maybe even a couple more, maybe even almost 30 years. Not to give away my age here, but so there's no real short answer, but I'll try to make it as brief as possible. So anyway, John, thank you for the question. To try to answer that for you, basically, I really I started out in the entertainment industry without even realizing I was starting out in the entertainment industry. Probably at the 25, 30 years ago, almost 30, at the age of 18, as a teenager. I was a teenage kid. And I was putting out, really what happened was I was putting out, well, first of all, I was interested in music, and primarily rock music at the time, heavy metal music at the time. And I was putting out a newsletter, which, because I had a real knack for interviewing stars and celebrities, at the time, bands in particular. And, I was getting all these interviews that nobody else could get. I mean, it was crazy. I was interviewing, this is in the late 80s, I was interviewing like, Metallica, Motley Crue. The following year, I even interviewed Paul McCartney of the Beatles, I mean, well, during one of his solo tours. And so basically, and I was putting out this newsletter of these interviews. This was my little sort of very pathetic attempt at putting out a little magazine of my own. And it was literally, I mean, if you had seen this, it was really pathetic. It was photocopied and stapled. And I would go out and distribute this, at the clubs and record stores or in the local area. And by local area, I mean Chicago area, because that's where I'm based. That's where I grew up. And in the process of doing so, the publisher of one of the local magazines, which was quite popular at the time, saw my little pathetic little newsletter, and he offered me a job with his magazine. And he said, would you like your own column, your own monthly column, your own section? And I figured, well, what the hell? I mean, it'll increase my readership, 1,000-fold overnight. So why not? Go for it. So that's what I did. And I started doing that for a couple of years, and I branched out into doing a little photography work. I worked as a photographer. Then I started getting some of my material, interviews and photos, into some of the national magazines. I don't know if any of you remember magazines at the newsstand like Hit Parader and Rip. And I had my work in those magazines and others like that. And it was pretty cool, and it just heightened my interest in the industry even more. And the more I went along, the more people I made connections with, the more people I networked with. not just musical artists and celebrities and bands, but industry people, publicists, managers, record label people, folks like that. And really, a short answer to your question really would be, in my opinion anyway, almost everything in the entertainment industry is based on personal relationships. And I know there a lot of people would disagree with that. A lot of people would say, well, that's maybe overrated. Maybe that's not really true. But I would suggest that those people are either liars or unaware of how things function in the entertainment industry, because it is based in large part on personal relationships, and networking is so important. So that's what I set out to do all through the 90s. And, but I didn't do it professionally. I just did it for fun. I enjoyed, going with my friends, hanging out with all these stars all the time, just regularly. And after a while, some of my friends, and even some of my celebrity friends that I got to be friends with, would say to me, why don't I apply some of this? Why don't I sort of apply this and work in the industry? And, some folks had suggested to me that I start my own media relations firm, my own public relations firm. And that's something I had thought about prior to that. But the more that people encouraged me to do it, and especially some influential people that encouraged me to do it, it kind of gave me the kick in the ass that I needed, so to speak, to really get the confidence to start my own company. So that's what I did. I formally began it formally, even though I had it existed prior to that in one form or another. But I formally began my company in 2002. And by that point, I had networked and sort of broadened my horizons, I guess you could say, where I didn't work just with rock people, metal people, not even just music people. And when it came to music, I mean, I began, forming associations with people in the pop genre and so on. And I began working with film people. That was a really big thing for me. I began working with film people, and so it's been great, and it just sort of took off from there. And John goes on to ask here, if I could name names who some of my favorite, presumably like celebrity clients would be. In all honesty, I can't name favorites. I mean, I have to say, we're really honored and happy to have worked with everyone that we were fortunate enough and to have worked with, and we're very honored by that. I mean, if I were to have to pick a few names, as far as actors go, I mean, I'm very fortunate to have worked with people like Keanu Reeves. Several years ago, I worked with Kirsten Dunst, Viggo Mortensen, Oscar Isaac on a film that they did for Magnolia Pictures, which was called The Two Faces of January, which was a terrific film, and people like that. As far as musicians go, I've been very fortunate to work with members of bands like Scorpions, Motley Crue, Heart, and many others. And I do have to emphasize that with Mueller Entertainment, it's not as if we just work exclusively with celebrity clients or established clients. We also work with a lot of up-and-coming folks, and from all different fields. I remember when we first, in 2002 and 2003, when we first formed the company, we even worked with, we were fortunate to work with Playboy Enterprises, who had us handle some of the Playboy golf tours for a couple of years and things like that. I was also very fortunate to work with Lynn Spears, the mother of pop star Britney Spears, and things like that. So and it just, just sort of took off from there. Shortly after forming the company, however, on a personal note, but a note that affected the business was the following year in October 2004, I ended up getting married to my beautiful wife, Angie. And, we enjoyed obviously spending time together, and we were very fortunate to go on some wonderful trips. We spent a lot of time together. So I took a temporary hiatus from work for a couple of years. My wife and I, we traveled the world all over several times. We were very fortunate. We had some just really wonderful, exciting, terrific experiences doing that. And for me, I just I sort of turned the business over to some of my partners for the in the interim, and I just felt it was something I had to do. But just over the past couple of years, I have to say, we've really refocused our efforts on the business with Mueller Entertainment. It's right now, as I record this, it is November 2017, and particularly over the past year and a half, and especially this past year, we've had some wonderful success working with some amazing clients. I'm not going to name names, but it's just been absolutely wonderful. So we're very heavily back into everything. But to basically answer John's question, that's basically how I first broke into the industry, and and it just through networking, through getting to know others in the industry, and so on and so forth, and and also just a couple of lucky breaks. I've been very fortunate. I think that goes for anyone that has any sort of success. Anyone who says that there is not an element of luck involved is basically lying to you. That certainly helps. But yeah, that's about it. As far as future plans with the business, well, we just plan to just keep going as we have been, especially as I say, over the past year. We've had some real amazing success, and I've been very, very fortunate and very happy with how things are moving along. So yeah. And then John goes on to actually ask 2 more questions here. And but anyway, I believe I'm going to answer these other questions in a forthcoming video. I'm not going to bore people further on this here. So, but anyway, yeah, definitely. I would like to mention, if anyone has any like new client submissions or any of that type of thing, or any questions, by all means, feel free to go to our website. That's www.mueller, mueller-entertainment.com. And, please don't be offended if I don't get right back to you. But I do answer as many questions as possible in as timely a manner as possible. So thank you for your interest, everyone. Thanks for writing in, and I'm going to do my best to every so often try to answer a couple of questions here and there as best I can. So anyway, have a great holiday season, and at the end of 2017, everyone, and take care, and all the very best for the new year. Thanks.